This video is going to go over what are the best perks to use inside Modern Warfare 3's multiplayer. Now this video is going to go over it very quickly, but we will do some in-depth testing and redo this video again to give you exact numbers on certain stats. So we're going to start off with the actual gloves, boots and gear, then we'll get into the infantry vest, because the infantry vest actually change which gloves, boots and gear you can actually use depending on which one you choose. So first of all, when it comes to gloves, now this might not be all of them because as I said, it changes depending on which vest you have on. So we've got the quick grip gloves, which is going to increase weapon swap speed, which is a useful one. It's not very useful, but it's still going to be semi-useful in game. Now there is a lot of other gloves that are a lot better in my opinion, and the ones that will be meta for the actual multiplayer itself, and as well as Warzone if this does eventually come to that. Then we do have ordnance gloves, which allows you to throw equipment further. Again, it's just going to allow you to throw grenades and things a lot further, and also resets the timer fuse on throwing back grenades. Again, not that powerful in my opinion. I don't think it's the best one. Then we've got commando gloves, which allows you to reload while sprinting, which is very useful, especially for those players who like to have good movement. Allowing you to reload and sprint at the same time is extremely useful, so this is going to be one of the more powerful ones. Scavenger is mainly for multiplayer, really, to be honest. Resupplying ammo and things like that. You don't really need it too much in my opinion unless you're really going on high kill streaks, but again, it's not the most powerful one. Marksman gloves are going to be very useful for snipers because it reduces the idle sway, and it also reduces the flinch. Again, I want to go in game and test on this one to see how much it actually helps, but it's definitely going to help a ton when it comes to sniper rifles, so this is going to be a powerful one. And then lastly, you've got assault gloves, which whilst jumping, accuracy and ADS time is improved. So this is basically going to allow you to jump and basically shoot at the same time, which is kind of cool to be fair, but again, I don't really see how often people are using jump shots in this game because it does already have a huge ADS penalty to begin with. But again, if you do want a jump shot, then obviously these are the gloves you want to be using. So the main ones here: assault gloves, marksman gloves, and commando gloves. Now the boot section is the one where it's going to be really tough to choose from because there's a lot of really good ones here and they're all pretty much movement based, so they are going to help out an absolute ton. So this one is going to be a really tough pick. So when it comes to the boots, the first one we have is lightweight boots, which increases movement speed overall, which is definitely very useful. Again, by how much we want to test in game, we will do that, but overall it does help quite a bit. It reduces the noise while swimming and also increases swim speed as well. So overall, just movement boost here, and this is going to be extremely useful, so it's still a good one to choose. We've got climbing boots, which reduces fall damage, so that is again very useful, but also increases your climbing speed, so again it's going to be very useful in game, just overall. Running sneakers increases tac sprint duration and reduces the refresh time, so this is going to allow you to slide cancel a lot quicker as well, because that is kind of part and parcel of the whole movement mechanics there. But again, another really powerful one, so it just depends, movement speed or tac sprint. You kind of need to pick between the two because you don't get both in the same perk, which is a bit unfortunate. Tactical pads increases slide distance, allows you to aim down sights while sliding, and increases the stance transition speeds when crouched and basically standing up straight. Again, another really good one. Slide distance is basically a really good one, especially if you do slide a lot. If you're slide cancelling, maybe not as useful to be fair, but aiming down sights while sliding is definitely useful. Now always you're able to do that tac shoot thing, so remember, keep that in mind. It's not like it's taking that away from you, so even if you don't have this, you can still tac shoot. Stalker boots for strafe speed, again another really powerful one in my opinion. This is pretty much the best category of kind of perks, if you want to call it. So stalker boots increases strafe speed and ADS movement speed, very powerful. Depending on how much percentage wise this actually helps, it does help in game, you can feel it, but in terms of the actual percentage, we will calculate that in a future video. Now when it comes to covert sneakers, eliminates footstep sounds, again very powerful, and it just basically means that you've got dead silence on all the time essentially. This could be kind of broken depending on how it works in game, but overall all of these are very useful and it's going to come down to personal preference. My picks would be stalker boots, the running sneakers, and lightweight boots. The next one is gear. Now gear is kind of the one where you can kind of play around with it, because there's a lot here that you can play with. We've got Tac Mask, which reduces the flash and stun grenades, which is obviously going to be very, very powerful. Tac Mask is always going to be useful. Then we've got Comm Link, which is going to reduce kill streak costs. Again, this is not something I would personally use, but if you like it in multiplayer, then it is something that can be useful. Then we've got Bone Conduction Headset, reduces combat noise, allowing improved identification of gunshots and enemy sounds. This is actually quite useful in game. It basically allows you to hear footsteps better than everything else. This should just be in standard, to be fair. This should just be part of the audio of the game, but regardless, it's a perk now, so that they can, I don't know, it doesn't really make any sense to me. Mag Holster, improved reload speed. So again, another one, but this is going to be just for basic reload speeds. So this is definitely something that's going to be very, very powerful, especially for the movement players out there. Backlight Flashlight shows recent enemy footsteps, which is basically like tracker. Detector, hostile laser and radiation sources. I'm not really sure what this does, to be fair, but it looks like high alert basically for the most part. Threat identification. Whilst ADS automatically pings players' locations and crosshairs, basically just pinging, but basically you can do that yourself, so this is not really going to be all that powerful. Then we've got Data Jacker, which basically means when you kill a player and you collect the smartphone that drops, basically gives you a ping around that area to see if there is people camping about, essentially, which is kind of cool. Signal Jammer basically allows you to see where the enemy equipment is, and it allows you to disrupt all that and hack it and things. The Hijacked if strobe is basically cold-blooded now. The name for it is really weird, but it is basically cold-blooded. Then we've got Ghost, which is basically Ghost, essentially Ghost Camo. EOD padding is essentially just EOD. So again, most of these are going to be quite useful. The ones I think are going to be really useful here are going to be the Bone Conduction Headset. We've got Tac Mask, the Mag Holster. We do have Cold-Blooded and Ghost and EOD. All of them are going to be really, really powerful. So those are the main ones in my opinion. Moving on to the vests now. Now, as you can see, as you switch between the vests, it removes either a lethal, gives you an extra gear slot. It sometimes removes your boot slot. It just does certain things where you can't actually do certain things. So like use a field upgrade or have tacticals and lethals in general. But it does give you an extra gear slot, so just keep that in mind, depending on how you want to run your perks. It's kind of cool to kind of get different play styles. Now, Infantry Vest, basically, it does not give you duplicate with the running sneakers, because it's basically the exact same thing. So it gives you attack sprint duration and reduces the refresh time. But if you equip it with the running sneakers, you gain the effects of lightweight boots. So if you try and stack it, essentially, it just gives you lightweight boots instead. So it probably just block that off for you there. So just try and obviously use a different perk, essentially, or use different boots. Engineer Vest, spot enemy equipment field upgrades, kill streaks through walls, aiming down sights highlights them for the team. Which is basically the same as the kind of one that works like the kind of hacker thing. Field upgrades, faster recharge as well. That's kind of cool. And it also gives you an extra gear slot to use as well, but it does take away your lethal equipment, so just keep that in mind when you are using it. Takes away lethal equipment, gives you an extra gear slot, so if you do want an extra perk, then this is one of the ones to go for. So the Gunner Vest gives you max ammo, improved reload speed, and it does not stack with Mag Holster, so just make sure you keep that in mind when you are picking the gear option. And basically this just means that you can't reload like super quick or something like that. Now, I don't know if this is actually intended or not, but you can get an extra primary slot with this, so it basically gives you the effects of overkill as well. Really weird one. I don't know if that is purposely the case here, because as you can see, you could pick like a shotgun or a different weapon in general, so I'm not sure if that's supposed to be the case. But as for now, it gives you the effects of overkill as well, but also removes one of the boots for you, so just keep that in mind. The boots are probably the most powerful thing in the game, so I probably wouldn't really use the Gunner Vest all that much personally here. Then we've got the Demolition Vest, which resupply lethal and tactical every 25 seconds. You also get a double lethal here as well with this one. You get all your perks back, and then obviously you are using the secondary pistol option, which some of the pistols in this are pretty broken at the moment. With the Comms Vest, it basically keeps the players on the minimap a bit longer if you're using the UAV, for example. And then it also gives you the intel drops as well, so you can get enemy pings. Now, this is obviously not stacked with Data Jacker, so if you try to stack them again, it's just going to give you a different perk, essentially, so just keep that in mind. Lastly, we've got the Overkill vest, which is probably one of my favorites here, other than the infantry vest as well. And that's going to give you increased weapon swap speed, reload while sprinting. Obviously, you can't basically stack these with the perks that help you with that as well, so make sure you're using other movement perks. And this is probably going to be one of the more broken ones, to be honest. And then it also gives you the ability to use a primary and secondary in both slots. So you can actually choose secondary weapons here as well. So you could choose handguns in the first slot. So let's say you want to do like akimbo, pistols or something like that. It doesn't really matter. You could do whatever you want, which is really, really cool. You've got the tactical and lethal, and then you've got your 3 perks here as well. So this is going to be one of the really good ones to use. I think the way Overkill works in this is way better than the way it used to do it. So overall, you could still essentially get Overkill with the Gunner vest because you could still get 2 primary weapons. But Overkill on the Overkill vest is actually the way it should be done. So again, you've got a lot to play around with here. There's a lot to do. Keep in mind, obviously, you're getting certain things removed, certain things won't work with certain vests, so you obviously need to play around with that. But if you enjoyed this video and you learned something new, don't forget to subscribe, and thank you very much for watching.